Minions have spawned.
Do I want?
Let me at him.
They told me to send it.
I don't know. Did I get greasy?
No, you were good.
I'm fine. I was.
We have 20 seconds. Eddie's being.
I'm fine. I'm fine.
He's okay without doing glam. Eddie knows that.
Jerry's fine. I'm fine. Don't overdo it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome author, political analyst, and host of AM Joy, Joy Reid.
Let me at him.
Hope you enjoyed the sneak peek, right? You enjoyed the sneak peek of Netflix Emmy-nominated program Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, Season 11. And without further ado, let me introduce executive producer and host of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, Mr. Jerry Seinfeld. And of course, the incomparable Eddie Murphy.
Now it's mine.
Okay.
The incomparable or impossible?
Whichever you prefer.
What did you say?
I'm going to be differential. I said incomparable. Incomparable. Yeah. Cannot be compared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
So I have to start by asking you, Jerry, because I just heard this for the first time today. You launched this idea for this show. This is the 11th season.
Yes.
But the first
I'm
9
back.
Seasons were on something called Crackle.
Yes.
Apparently you killed by walking.
Yes.
Where did you come up with this idea, and why the
I
cars?
always
What are
liked
the
Rice
cars?
Krispies, and I heard of this company. You know, in the beginning, it was honestly, it was like just something you build in your attic. You know, it was just I didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And I was really kidding, you know, when I do those announcements. And this, I mean, I was joking. I didn't think, this is not a real show. It's just like 2 comics talking, and I'm going to cut it together. And,
Yeah.
And then, but I knew an executive at Sony, and they had this platform. And he said, why don't you just see if it's anything you want to do? And if it is, then we'll figure out the money. And that was a nice relationship. So that's why I did it.
Speaking of relationships, one of the things that I learned through watching this, and I think you guys are both obviously very successful, very well-known comedians, but you guys work together, and the relationship between the two of you, I think, is really fascinating. So talk a little bit about that, if you could, Eddie, just about coming up in comedy with this guy, both in New York, sometimes on the same bill.
Yeah, lots of times. We played a lot of little clubs together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who was funnier?
He was always the funniest.
No, that's
he
not
was.
true.
He had his show down. He was polished. He had it all down before everybody.
Yeah.
That was really true.
Yeah.
You and George Wallace, you guys were the ones.
Yeah, we figured it out. Well, in those days, you know, in the mid-70s, stand-up, young people doing stand-up was a new thing. And people in New York used to come out, and they would go to these clubs, and, you know, the comedians they knew were Alan King and Shecky Green, and then there were these kids started doing it.
But then you had it together as a person, too. Like, you was the first comic to have a nice car. I remember he got a job, and we were all, like, standing on the side. This is Seinfeld. Amazing.
But you guys both talk about coming up, you know, and just being able to make people laugh, you know, and how that was the first time you realized, you know, this is something that I'm capable of doing, right? But when you guys were kids, what made you laugh? Each of you, what made you laugh?
I always had a really good sense of humor.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Wasn't it really like the things like that these guys could do with their voices? They had these elastic voices where they could be characters, and they would stretch out the vowels and words, and just, you know, instead of just talking, like, you know, with Cosby and Klein and Carlin to a certain extent too, although Carlin was more the written word was more impressive. For me, the thing that really got me excited about the Why Is There Air? I had never heard anybody do that with their voice. You know, he would take you to different places and just, it was like silly putty.
Yeah.
Let me
I want to
at
go
'em.
back to Raw. You guys hopefully remember. One of the things that I love about what you both do is that you guys make those regular things funny, right? The ordinary stuff is funny. The ice cream story. It's just a story about some kids getting some ice cream. It's hilarious. Why is it that ordinary life things are so capable of being overcome?
Well, it's not ordinary. That's what you're seeing. The idea of screaming at someone to throw money down.
That's literally
so that
my
I can
life.
get
That's
ice
ordinary.
cream that's coming in a truck. The comedian sees this entire thing is insane. So that's what we do. Is we find what's wrong actually in this ordinary picture. This is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever worry about just bombing? But getting up there and doing live comedy, doing comedy on stage, and just nobody gets it.
Not now. Maybe when in the early days, but now I'm pretty sure I'm funny now. So now I don't worry about that. Although it could still happen, that's something I worry about.
Yeah. What about you? Do you ever worry about it now?
I don't worry. I worry about it just not being great. Great every night, which it can't be. And you just want to get to that place on stage where you feel funny, and then the audience kind of will click into it, and then you both will lock into that place, and you try and just hold it there as long as you can.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can't get there, and that's why you have to.
They're not quick to heckle people that they know if they've seen them and laugh before. You don't really heckle.
But the silence is worse than the heckle. When it's quiet. I was just doing some shows in London, and one show I did to warm up, to see the stuff that they know. I wasn't sure if they knew about Pop-Tarts or Raisinets. So I go to this club late at night, and they have no air conditioning. It's London, and it's hot. It's hot there for some reason. And comedians know, if you go up 1 degree in temperature in the room, the laughs go down 20%, right? So I'm pouring sweat, and I'm thinking they're not going to laugh because it's hot. So those are the things.
But I'd rather be quiet. Yeah, you have been in a club and they doing your shit. Somebody screaming out, "You ain't nobody!"
That is a horrible thing to do. Absolutely nobody. You ain't nobody. That's a great
An
heckle.
enemy has been slain.
A very black hat.
Yes.
So, Eddie, you talked about that era that you went through at a certain point where there's like one black comedian that could be the guy. That could be the black comedian, and that awkwardness.
not comedians. There was it was period. It was
Let
one
me
black
at 'em.
person at a time in
That could be
Hollywood.
famous, period.
Yeah, it was like one at a time, and that was like right up until like 1980. It was like,
I mean, there was Flip Wilson. There was the Scully Mitchell. What about Scully Mitchell?
Mitchell would never hit. He never hit
I
it.
thought he was funny.
We thought his name was funny. It was funny. This guy make it with that name. He's the only Scully ever.
Scully Mitchell.
Scully Mitchell.
No, I mean, really.
You never heard that?
You know who Scully Mitchell is?
No.
Yeah, Scully Mitchell was in what's that movie?
was a laugh band?
No, he was also he's in the Richard Pryor movie, JoJo Dancing. He plays his father in JoJo Dancing.
Okay,
That's Scully Mitchell.
okay.
Yeah, he was on the come up, and I think that what messed him up was the story is he got into a fight with the producer or something and never worked again.
What about George Kirby? Do you consider him he was a comedian?
He was a comedian.
Bring it
So,
on.
But he
was
never.
around?
But he
Flip
never. I'm
Wilson was
talking.
around?
When I'm talking about
Red Fox was around.
one at a time, I mean like blow up and get in the mix. George Kirby was making maybe even He never had the George Kirby show or anything like that.
He went to prison, you know.
Yes, and cocaine.
Texas.
Ready for battle.
What was it?
It was cocaine.
It was cocaine. I remember being at the Improv on Melrose and sitting down with Leno, and Leno said, you know, George Kirby's about to go out. And I went, wow, that went fast.
not the George.
He's actually
Like cars. I love it. I think the movie is unsung hero. He's the first one. He's in Middle America's living room. He's not assimilating. He owns his fucking show. He had everybody on the show. We love Flip Wilson.
He was like the original Madea. Right? That kind of
Well,
comedy.
Geraldine.
Geraldine.
Madea is not like
Yeah, right.
Geraldine. I don't know if the younger people remember. He would do this Geraldine character. You kind of like waited for it. It was like, is he doing Geraldine this week?
Yeah.
Stellar.
I bumped into him at Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. And I went over to him. I had just gotten out here, and I wasn't anybody. You ain't nobody. And I was so excited to see him. I went over to him, and I said hi. And he stood up from his table to say thank you. And I just, I really remember
Did he have
that.
the suspenders on?
No, no.
'Cause he hosted Saturday Night Live, and he had on suspenders, and he gave suspenders to everyone.
When you were there.
When I was there, he got
Yeah, just
and he didn't die broke. He lived in Malibu. He died a rich man. And it was a great story and great. It's amazing that people don't know about it.
Let's talk about Richard Pryor. Because, I mean, his influence on comedy, he essentially talked about, it's sad to hear that you guys, that he didn't connect with you, at least at the time. Did you ever get a chance to really connect with him?
Well, you know, I didn't know that stuff was going on. Richard would act really cool with me. I thought he was all good. Then I found out afterwards some of that other stuff. But when I would go face to face with Richard, he'd be really nice to me.
Was there a comedian like that for you, somebody that you really admired, that you found that was headed towards you rather than... You want to name names?
No, I don't. But it is a weird thing when the younger guy catches and passes the older guy. It's difficult.
For the older guy, the older guy is thinking, oh, you know, my time is up, whatever, and
Your fame and your power and your intensity was so explosive. It scared everybody because we had never seen anything like that happen before. Or since, really. It just does that kind of thing.
Surprise!
Happens
I'm
once every
back.
50 years, 100 years or something. It's very, very rare. So it was just a frightening natural phenomenon that happened. We had never seen anybody explode like that. So, you know, it was scary.
Yeah.
to those guys.
It's
Yeah.
on.
Is it harder for you guys? Did you think it's harder? Well, I'll ask you first on this, Eddie, to do comedy in a film or to do it stand-up? So, I mean, you had people like Red Fox or whatever transition to television.
Red Fox wasn't sure when I met him.
No? What do you feel like
He
he
was
No.
Yeah. One of them was funny, just naturally funny. Oh, put it in the ring. Not even try to be funny, just says stuff on.
Did you hear that famous story of him going to just walk out, gets out there and sees like 30 and he walks off, and as he walks off, they go, like that was the show?
You know, I was actually producing the show that he passed away. What was it? So it was on the air. It was a show called The Royal Family. It had him and Della Reese, Postman, and he was at the end of all this financial stuff. They got a show, and the show was working, and numbers.
Ready for battle.
Like
Wow.
8 episodes in.
Yeah. Can we talk about Della Reese for a minute? You just brought her up. There are so many people that that have been a part of these films, part of these projects. I think for younger people, they didn't know who they were, and they had these incredible careers beforehand, like Adele Reese. To my mom, she was huge. So we know her in these films. Like, what is that about? Taking these people out of this bigger picture that maybe an older generation knew and put it in the film.
I wasn't trying to do that. Like I wasn't like making
Did they have to be funny with him? Was somebody like that already funny, or were you able to bring that out of them with the role?
Della
You
Reese
can't bring it out.
They either have it or they
Oh
don't.
yeah, funny is not coming out. It's either.
Yeah, she was funny already, but she wasn't the first choice for that role. It was some other actor, and she, I think she passed. Who did I offer that? The sister that's in Which Way Is Up that was playing the piano, giving Richard Pryor piano lessons. That's who was the original.
Surprise! I'm back.
She was born again Christian. She was. I can't say all those curses.
What I love about this project is you are a fan. I mean, what comes through is that you are not just the host of this and yourself a hugely successful human. You're a fan of these folks. It's part of the reason that you do this. You are a fan of you guys talk. That's
I just, to be the fun thing, I mean, I love that people enjoy the show, but just to be with him for that day, that's why I do it. I can't get together with most of these people. You know, it's hard to get together with people anyway these days, but yeah, there's an air in the room with comedians, right? The air changes.
Absolutely.
They just, you know, my favorite thing is when you tell the story of bombing and then getting in the car and then going to the diner to eat and just laughing. And that was the most addictive thing to me about entering this world. All of a sudden, not only was I doing comedy, I was hanging out with these people. And you find out, oh, we're all the same. We're all have this weird thing that, you know, we see things differently, live life differently, and that atmosphere. Isn't that like 90% of the fun of being a comedian is that atmosphere?
Yeah, the other comics. Little packs of comics. And they hang out with, they think all the other comics are
Yeah.
Do you think that comedy has changed now? Because it's a different era. People are so much more uptight. People are so much more stressed out.
Yes.
People are freaked out
They've
constantly.
always
Is it
been
harder?
freaked out and
Yeah,
stressed
there's
out.
always
you
an
know,
issue.
it's always.
Yeah. You think it's the same?
Always.
It's the same, but that it's more problems. Every era has its problem.
It's more, that's what, they're more comic.
Yeah. Is it harder to do comedy when things are good? Meaning that you need something to play off of. So if things are too light, is it harder to actually come up with funny
think
stuff?
of this irritation or what we call outrage culture is because there's no outrage culture. Get mad at.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about these shows coming out. I was talking with some people. What are they gonna get mad at?
On this?
Oh, yeah, something. They're gonna do something.
Oh, that's nothing.
Yes, they will. The whole thing will be a problem. They're not gonna just let it go. Some person, and then you'll go, you ain't nobody. You got a Twitter account.
Out of the projects that you've done, and you've done like how many movies? Probably 50? I don't know. I can't even 50, boy. How many movies have you done?
Oh, I don't know.
So many. So many.
I think I did like 40 movies.
About 40 movies. What's your favorite movie?
I don't really have a favorite movie. They're all part of the body of work. That's like asking them what your favorite episode is.
All right, I gotta
No one's gonna cross-reference and go, hey, wait a minute, that wasn't.
Yeah. I mean, Seinfeld is it's not It's not, you are not that character, but who in that show is the most like you? I mean, it is you. Is it you?
A little bit.
Is it really you?
Yeah, I mean, the idea for me was I don't want to do any real acting because that's. So why don't I just try and
yourself.
play myself? And
Okay.
everybody, it was always a kind of a funny joke on the show that I would be standing with the writers off camera and we would go, let's do this line. Oh yeah, let's change that line. And then I would just walk onto the set and do the line. You know, I mean, it's not a documentary, it's fiction.
What, I have to ask you this question. Of the club, which one is the most like you? Who are you?
None of them.
None of them? Not even grandma?
Not like any of them. Not like anybody there.
You never tried to know any of these candidates.
No, you don't know.
Okay.
That's me.
If you go back to do something like this with, who would it be?
Shut down.
You're going to object, but I am a huge fan of Bernie Mac. I love
No,
Bernie
I'm not
Mac.
objecting. I love Bernie Mac.
I told you I thought Bernie Mac is one of the funniest.
No. You didn't say one of. You said you thought he was the best that you'd ever seen. That's the word you said. And then I said, I love Bernie,
Yeah.
but the best? I said, nah. I said, I love Bernie, but not the best. I said, if you
Well-
told anyone else that you thought he was the best, they would go, really? We were saying we were doing our comic Mount Rushmore. We were saying which comedians would be on Mount Rushmore. And we were all saying like Bernie, we were saying like Richard Pryor and Lenny Bruce, and then he goes, Bernie Mac, and I'm like, what? And I love Bernie, but on Mount Rushmore, that's where
I have spent a lot of time.
I love Bernie
watching
Mac.
his
I think
videos.
Bernie Mac is, I think he's hysterical.
But there's a lot of people. I mean, I would love to have George Carlin. Joan Rivers was booked to do the show. She passed away after we booked her. This thing to me has been a kind of isolating the gene project. Like each person that's on this show has this gene, this DNA. And you see it consistently runs through them all. They all have this thing. It's all in different packages, different personalities, different ages, and whatever, and everything. But that through line. So I think I could do it with the Chaplin or Stan Laurel, anybody like that. They would
Has been slain.
Chaplin.
Yeah, Chaplin. You think he was funny to talk to?
I think he would be doing a little funny stuff. Doing a little funny little stick.
Do you know if he ever did stand-up in those days? Did they have that? He was in vaudeville in England.
Because you said no to Chaplin. When I was like, Chaplin, and you were like, yeah, well, he's never
Well,
had.
but that's not-
And
I
I was
don't
like,
think
but
of
he
it-
was, I was like, he did live stuff. You were like, no. So he was saying Bernie Mac and not Chaplin.
I actually
Surprise,
tried
I'm back.
to do a show with Bernie Mac after he passed away. I tried it. It didn't work.
Yeah.
I wanted to show videos. I was going to drive in the car by myself,
By
and just
yourself.
talk about him.
Right. It's
Yeah.
just- yeah.
I just have a thing.
Hey, no. Everyone loves Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac is one of the funniest he's funny.
Enemy has been slain.
You guys would never make fun of. Is there anything? Okay.
Publicly
about
or
this.
to each other.
I mean, you guys.
Yeah, publicly, certain things you can do, certain things you can't do.
But in terms of like writing a public bit, I mean, you guys talked about it in the episode that, somebody dies and your first thought is
Yeah.
you come up with something
Ready
funny to
for
say,
Right.
but then you think there's
Yeah.
something you're like, no.
Yes, it depends on. You have to calculate how funny it is. If it's very offensive, you gotta stop. If the joke is that great,
Yeah.
you can overcome things that people feel uncomfortable
Yeah.
talking about. But that's comedy skill.
Yeah, usually the joke that's really offensive isn't funny.
That's right.
Right.
It's very rarely a hysterical joke. It's like, it's not.
Right. Does it feel like comedy sort of walked back though? Because it does feel like that earlier era, that prior era. It was almost blunt. I felt like comedy could be a lot more blunt about race, about the culture. It could be about, it could say anything. And it does feel like that is the truth.
I don't know. You know, it's all timing and when you
Let
say
me
what
at
you
'em.
say and who's there, because I've heard comics say crazy shit, you know, and get away with it. You know, it's just
Then or now?
just period. You hear people
Right.
say crazy things. It's just who's saying it. If you're one of the faces in the same then it becomes a big story. You're like, on the come up and you're crazy. I hear comics, you know, comics really, really edgy stuff. You just
That the industry changed in the sense that now there is this trajectory to get into the movies, right? I mean, you really one of the earliest people that, you know, SNL,
The
get into the
enemy's
movies.
inhibitor is
I think you left SNL when in 84, 85, you're in movies. That trajectory's fast now. So does it pull people off of stage?
It has always been. It is a brutal life. Really, you're tested every night. And seriously, I mean, because if it doesn't work, it's very uncomfortable. If you're doing a movie or a TV show that doesn't work, sometimes all right, we gotta fix it.
Yeah.
You know, but live stand-up is, you know, that's why I was, one of the things I loved in this show is you talking about how much you still love it and still respect it. And that's why I think, I always tell people this because they ask me about doing it, and he respects it on a level. He's not going to just go up there unless he's really got his stuff figured out, what he wants to do.
Yeah.
He wouldn't just stand up on stage and go, well, you know, I'm here, everybody's going to enjoy that.
not on tour. You got to go to get an act. I got to go to the club and literally start all the way over.
Yeah. You thought about doing it? I mean, you talked about it.
Oh yeah. But there's no way around that process. You have to go do it that way.
Yeah, that you have to do it in the club. How many shows did you have to do you felt, you know, I'm comfortable, I think I could do something?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We're talking about a lot of rust. A lot of rust I have to get off. Actually, you know, I think I'd be like a fish to water because that's who I am.
Yeah.
That's who I am.
I think you would go right back to
I
it.
think I would go right to it. Just it would. It's who I am.
Do you enjoy that more? Yeah.
It's nothing like being on a live audience and hearing a live audience.
This is really
Nothing like
that's right? Is there anything better than that?
Nothing
Steph?
better
There's
than
nothing better.
And when you do stand up, it's right there. You make a movie, it's a process. You can have a money moment on the set that's funny. All this stuff.
Yeah.
You don't see it for a year and a
ally
half
has
after you
been
do it.
slain.
The audience and all that. Stand up, you come up with a new something, try something new.
Yeah. And you asked, you know, Eddie about this, but what about you? Do you look forward to you getting back out and doing a lot of stand-up? I mean, you got an Emmy Award-winning project here. Congratulations on another nomination. I know you don't care about the awards, but you're nominated again. Yeah.
Don't you have other Emmys? So you have to have other. You haven't accepted it? You don't accept it?
No, I don't accept it. No, I'm just kidding. No, of course I accept it. Everybody gives you a award. Oh,
On
thank
the
you very
show,
much.
you were like, I don't want awards. I was like,
Well, I don't want to talk about this publicly, but there are certain.
It's just us.
I'm not. I'm always. What you talked about is the thing that puts me off at the size and scope and the manpower, the money. I like to just let me just see if this is funny, and then I'll go home.
And then just go home.
Yeah.
What about a Seinfeld movie? You could do that.
Yeah, I suppose one could do that.
One
Yeah.
could do that. It'd be funny.
But it's not better.
Yeah.
It would be less funny because in the movie, you have to have a chase scene. You have to have a romantic story. We have to like these people in the end and feel like, oh, I'm certainly glad I came into this theater and spent this time with these people. That's what's ruined movie comedy.
Yeah.
Redemption. Redemption of the character at the end. We want to make sure we like this guy at the end, you know, the focus group. What? You see, that's what's great about doing the TV series. It's like Bugs Bunny, he can get a cannonball in the face and go to black and come back and he's fine. You know.
Absolutely. So, if you weren't doing this job, can you picture the life you would have had alternative to doing this? What would you do? Like, what would funny Eddie Murphy and funny Jerry Seinfeld have
What could you do? You could do anything. Could you work a
Could it
job?
be show business? It's not in show business.
been doing? Not in show business, just a regular.
Probably tried to be a writer. I think I like writing.
Still in here.
Oh, that's a true art thing? You know what? I'll be honest with you. I could do any job. I really like working. I was going to community college, night school, and I had a job during the day for 2 or 3 hours a day, taking a light bulb, putting it in a cardboard box, folding it apart, and then I put it in an envelope. I remember sitting there for hours doing this going,
Fine. Yeah, it's fine. What do you still want to do? Do you still come up with like a bucket list? Is your bucket list like at like almost peak full?
You mean my bucket list is
Like, what do you
in
still want
show
to do?
business?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to get some more laughs. I want to keep being funny and maintain what I'm trying to get to. Keep my sanity and stay as normal as possible.
Do your kids think you're funny? Do they still laugh at you?
Yeah.
Ready for
My kids say
Double kill.
like my kids they'll do like my attitude, like I'll say, you know, we're having dinner. Yeah, Dad, I know. You know, I know we're having dinner. I heard. We all heard it. You don't have to repeat it. I go, that's me. You're doing my attitude. I don't. He watched. Well, they can't be different in different.
Yeah, you would be surprised how different they are. The Little Women of LA are nothing like the Little Women from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Whole
Is
different.
this a real show? When you were talking about it,
It's not called The Little People. The
Really?
Little
It's a
Women.
real
The
show?
Little Women. Not little. No, that's another show. That's
Yeah,
like
Little
a show
Women,
where
I've
the
heard
people are
that's
like
a book.
normal family. These are like the salacious little people. Drama, and they just have all kinds of stuff going. It's like a soap opera. They get into fights and walk off in a huff.
But the walk-off is funny.
A little person walking off in a huff.
Yeah, that's funny.
It never gets old. It never gets old.
Why don't we take a